Hello guys, this is Youlostbro for pokerimania.com, and today we will be playing NL10 at 888 Poker. Two tables of NL10 Snap Poker and one regular table to spice it up. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them. This time the chat box is visible as well. And yeah, ace 10 suited I think is good enough hand to 3-bet for value from these positions. And on this flop I'm just going to make a half pot c-bet. We have 2 overs and every single backdoor draw. On both tables I'm just going to check. Neither of these turn cards seem too good to be c-bet bluffing on. If these villains have some type of hand to call the flop with, they are usually going to call the turn as well. So I'm just check folding. Hmm. Seven five suited seems to be good enough hand to defend. With the limper, I don't think the limper is going to raise too often. So, and we get fairly good odds to call on the big blind. Now on shots board, I'm just going to check fold. Against 2 full stacks, I think 6-4 offsuit is hand I want to fold, even on the bottom. You guys won't see me open folding on the bottom too much. With aces, I'm going to 3-bet against the UTG open. I don't 3-bet too much in this pot, but with aces, I think it's fine. If I had some type of reads that he's opening too wide and folding a ton from those positions, then I wouldn't have a value 3-betting range maybe at all. But readless at NL10, I think including aces to your 3-betting range is seldom wrong. So can someone please confirm whether the sound is good? Against the limp, 20 big blinds deep, I think shoving might just be the best play here. So yeah, on table number 2 I'm just going to c-bet 3 ways. I'm going to check this turn. Pretty hard to get value. Actually, I'm still checking this river and check calling most bets. This is pretty big though. He shouldn't have too many value hands though. So I think I'm just going to station this. He's gonna have like deuces. Maybe ace 8 if he flats that. He's gonna have a ton of 2 hard hands, I think. Pretty meh, but this is pretty strong hand, so I'm just going to call. Yeah. 2 hearts. Ace King was a very standard open raise, and I'm not going to see bet because I don't want to see bet fold. And now I'm just going to delay c bet. C betting in table number 1, and I'm still value betting on the river. Seems like he's gonna have a ton of queen x hands, so I'm just going fairly big here. This ace of diamonds is not a great turn to be barreling on, so I'm just checking, and now I think I just need to check fold. Versus most bet sizings. Let's see what he had. He had 10-9, so yeah. This I think I will also 3-bet. I don't. Yeah, flatting is fine also, but I like to include hands like this into my 3-betting range against the regular. So we will most likely just be playing pretty ABC style, because that's how you beat these games, by a pretty clear margin. So nothing too spewy and fancy. This hand could be 3-betted, but I prefer not to. And this hand I'm actually just taking into my check call range. I don't get too many better hands to fold. Actually, I don't get any better hands to fold. And yeah, not too many worse hand calls either. But this hand actually plays fairly well by check calling. Ace is actually a card that is very good for my range, so I don't expect him to be bluffing on that card too much. I'm just checking on the river. Can you please link me the Twitch chat, because I don't have it open and I don't know how to open it. I'm calling this hand. I don't want to raise. I want this small blind guy to call as well. Now I hit my hand and I'm just trying to make a fairly small bet and try to take it all. Seems like he's gonna have some type of 10 or 2 pair or something. So yeah, get it in. C betting with every backdoor draw seems fine, even though this hand is this flop is something that should hit his small blind flatting range fairly well, but he's playing with the shallow stack, so he's most likely not going to be the best type or best player. Ace 10. If I want to play this, I'm 3-betting. I don't know too much about this opponent, as I don't know too much about any opponent, but I think it's fine. And in limp board, I'm just betting myself. The middle pair is good. And now we need to call. I usually gonna have like 33-35% equity, but with such odds we just can't fold. Let's see. Huh. Yeah, I use Greek flag because I have noticed that um, not too many Greek opponents are being respected, and I get a bit more action by using a Greek flag. Most Greeks are not as good players as most Finns are, so it's just for the image. And I kind of like the look of Greek flag also. I'm gonna flat with sixes here. No, definitely not all of you are fishes, but maybe a bit bigger part of you are than the if you compare to Finns or some other nations. But I have no reason to believe that you are. Nice to meet you. I actually think I haven't met you before. I opted to 3 bet king jack offsuit, and then I face a 4 bet. I think even against such small 4 bet I just need to fold. I don't see too many 4 bet bluffs at these stakes. Yeah, within 4 weeks I have 2 heads up coaching sessions, one in Finnish and one in English. So actually in 2 weeks I will have a heads up coaching in English. So yeah, I do coach some heads up as well, and that heads up is actually my main game. So if you want to get some heads up coaching, tune in 2 weeks. Ace queen. I think I will be 3-betting. I will 3-bet to isolate this guy. This guy is gonna raise widely enough for me to 3-bet for value here. And I wasn't expecting this guy to fold too often. Now that this guy flat calls, I'm a bit scared because he's gonna have a fairly strong range, something like jacks and tens and ace kings. I'm just going to fold. I isolated 10-9 suited versus a lean pair and just going to bet 3 times. Even on such turn card, not the best one obviously, but most likely good enough. And yeah, I'm just shoving, hoping to get a call by just about anything. Yeah, ace jack. When they limp call pre-flop, they are usually just going to be recreational, so the calling ranges post-flop are going to be too wide. And that's actually a pretty passive way to play ace jack. I'm just going to shove here again, 13 big blinds deep, and he did complete the small blind and then fold to a shove. So I think that he's gonna have a lot of mm, limp folds from small blind and maybe some raises as well. And now I'm going to complete myself against his limp. Checking when hit no pair. Against a check, I don't think sevens is a good enough hand to bet myself. Against the second check back, I would bet, but I'm just going to check call once and re-evaluate on the river. And now obviously going to check raise. I think he's gonna have like some tens and some bluffs, but if he's going to call, he's not going to look at my sizing too much, so I'm not going too small. And it's possible that he's gonna have some ace-x hands as well, because people like to slow play those. Yeah, he actually did have. Yeah. Someone from the staff just linked a few links which you definitely want to follow if you are watching this from at Switch. Jack 10 I want to complete as well against the god of Flimper. Not quite enough, not quite good enough hand to raise here. But definitely good enough to play. Now this regular looking guy makes a pretty big raise. I have strong hands, so I'm going to call once, but I'm going to be cautious. And if he bets the turn very big also, I'm going to fold. Against the half pot bet, I think we need to call. We have a gut shot. So yeah. And the third spade is not a great card for us, because he could easily have a flush draw. With fours, I'm just flatting and trying to set mine. Yeah, I'm going to fold this river. I think shoving is a bit too big, because he's gonna fold some of his tens and pocket jacks and hands like that against a shove, but he's going to call the smaller raise every once in a while. King 10 is a fold against UTG Open. Very small or fairly small 3-bet. I would have folded against him, but with a flat call, I think this is just good enough hand to call with. And yeah, we didn't hit a set, so I'm just folding. I'm folding this as well. So I think he's going to call with those medium strength hands. He's going to call like $1.4 as well as $1.1, but he's not going to call like $10 with them too often. Here I think with a C, but I get enough folds. Ace is not a great card to barrel because he's gonna have some aces in his range and some jacks as well, and I don't think even a 9 is going to fold against the turn bet. Yeah, it's definitely true that if we often shove on the river, we get lighter calls, but there was no history between us at those spots, so I wouldn't do that just to create an image of me being very spewy or shove happy on the river. I think that's not too important of a factor, but if you face or if you do shove some rivers in a bit different spots where shoving is actually the best line, or yeah, so then you can actually take an advantage of the image you have kind of built, not even built on purpose, but just that you have an image that you have been shoving on those certain spots. Then you want to do that for value maybe later as well, maybe a bit lighter than usually, but just shoving just to create an image is not too important in my opinion. So we'll be folding a ton pre-flop. I'm going to open raise every single suited hand and a ton of hands anyways. I'm not going to see with this hard to get value, and I don't want to fold against the raise, so I'm just checking, and often I can just call the turn bet. Now I think I'm not going to be able to call twice, and that's actually a card that gives my opponent's range of plenty of equity. And again, not a great spot to two barrel on, so I'm just going to check. And if he checks now, and this is a spot where I just bet the pot a lot, because I shouldn't have too many hands this strong. I'm just going to delay c-bet here. When neither of them bet, they are usually not going to be able to call me twice, or not even once. And we did have a flush draw, so we were not doing that with no equity. Ace-10 is close whether we want to see it or not. I think, yeah, I think it's fine to see it with. And on that turn 3, I'm just going to fold against the pot size bet. Jacks. This is pretty close whether we want to squeeze or not. I think I'm just calling from these positions. Pretty big C, but I think I'm just check calling multiple times. And now on the turn, I'm definitely check raising. And this is a spot where any smaller raise is actually going to be a mistake. Do I want to shove or do I want to call? I think if he's gonna have any piece, he's not going to fold too often when he bets this big, and yeah, against aces that's a caller obviously, and he did use fairly big sizings on every street with very strong hand. So definitely something to type a mental note about, or even an actual note if you play these games regularly and you're assuming that you run into him later on. Queens, I would have 3-bet it, and I think I'm just going to 4-bet and call. These guys seem a bit regular-ish, so I'm expecting to get enough action for this to be profitable with queens for value. He's going to stack me with more than just kings plus. This doesn't look too good of a table because these 3 are regulars and this guy plays with a full stack also, but this guy is definitely bad enough for me to be willing to play at this table. Against a 3, but I'm just going to fold. Yeah, it's not like I'm not too uncomfortable playing against NL10 regulars, but I think it needs to be mentioned that table selecting at micro stakes is pretty easy and very profitable because there are tons of tables you can select from, so you definitely want to select the tables you find opponents that you increase your win rate against, compared to these regulars that are mostly playing reasonably well and not making too big of a mistakes. Seems like these snap tables are actually a bit better, a bit softer than the regular tables. Very small sample size, but just looks like it right now. I have note about this play and I have not written it today, so against the UTG limp I'm going to limp again. I don't think raising is great. I just want to see a flop for cheap price. Okay, 30 big blinds per 100 is definitely pretty good win rate. I do not think it's possible to keep that over a big sample, like after 200,000 hands, or 100, even 100,000 hands. I would say it's impossible to have win rate that big, but if you have anything close to 10 big blind per 100, that's going to be great even on those stakes. And if you have a win rate that good, you should definitely play bigger stakes. I think 2-barreling on 2 flush boards is going to be pretty nice. And on river ace, I don't think he's gonna have queen x hands too often. If he does, those usually include a flush draw. So I'm just going to check, because I think any ace will bet themselves, and if he has a flush draw, he's going to bluff 10 sometimes. Ace 10 check back the river. That's definitely something I didn't expect, and against that hand, if he's going to check back the river with ace, I definitely need to bet this river. Now I think he's gonna have a jack most of the time, so I'm just betting and trying to get a value. Okay, so your sample size was 200,000 hands or bigger from regular tables, and you were winning 30 big blinds per 100. So first of all, that's excellent. And second of all, why were you playing NL2 for that many hands? Play bigger, man. Play bigger. If you're that good, you are usually going to win at NL5 and most likely even bigger stakes. So you would be winning more money at higher stakes. Ace Jack is a good enough hand to 3-bet for value. So yeah, I forgot to check what my villain had. Yeah, he had a Jack, as I was assuming him to have. So Giannis Creek, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name even close how it's supposed to be pronounced, but are you a member of our forum, or did you just accidentally found the stream? So if not, feel free to join our forum and maybe start a blog on the blogging section, because it would be nice to read about microstakes crusher. So, and good luck to NL5. Okay, how strict is your bankroll management? Because at microstakes, if you are really doing that well, I think you shouldn't have too strict bankroll management. If you are just willing to play smaller again, if you face a downswing, you're not member yet, so it's free to register and everything is free basically. If you're doing that well on stars, I could actually highly recommend 888Poker for you, if those are games that you are allowed to play at as a Greek. I don't know, because the player pools are way softer. I opted to just check call with King Deuce on the turn. It's close, but I think he's gonna have too many hands like this at this spot. So I was just planning to check call 3 times. Okay. Those are obviously good investments. In general, you usually do not want to take money out of your poker bankroll, because the withdrawals make it slower for you to increase the stakes. And if it's possible for you not to withdraw any money from there, it looks like that you are doing very well, and I think you will be playing much bigger stakes, like NL10 at least, within a fairly short amount of time. So when you start making a bit better money, then you can make some small withdrawals every once in a while. But at the very early stage of your career, you usually do not want to make withdrawals. Withdrawals are your enemy. This guy bets 2 pots. I'm not going to call. So it seems like we have showed some profit. Or shown. Obviously we were pretty lucky with pocket jacks against aces by hitting the set on the turn. I'm going to check call this half pot bet with 1 pair and backdoor flush draw. Well, I'm not too thrilled about this situation, and against the second barrel I'm just going to fold, and I'm kind of set mining my pocket nines here. When this guy doesn't see bet and this guy does bet, his sizing is pretty big, but I think I need to call at least once, and most often just once. Okay, a mean 3 bet, a 4 bet. Yeah, that's true, but it's pretty much the same at the heads up tables as well. So if you want to switch to heads up, I think heads up sit and goes are very good option for you. I'm just folding, and let's see what these guys have. Maybe this hand goes to showdown. What do you mean by coaching program? Do you mean like a software, or do you mean if I coach? Oh, I don't fully understand. I'm sorry. Queen Jack I 3-bet bluffed against this kind of guy, and then this short stack made a very small raise. Well, yeah, NL50 I think you can play, but the rake is fairly big, and even the zoom tables, they are not too good nowadays, but the sit and goes are actually fairly soft, even at the smallest stakes. And even though you might not like tournaments at this point, there's definitely money to be made, so at least consider them if you want to practice heads up. And yes, I do coach for money. If you are interested, just send me a private message through the or via our forum, and we can discuss it further. Also, I have advertised about my private coaching at our forum. I think Jack 8 is pretty good hand to 3-bet bluff again. So yeah, my private coaching thread is at the forum. There's some graphs and these salaries and something like that, and their reviews are at the same section as well, or the feedback thread. 3 ways I didn't want to see, but I don't think it's too good of a flop to see, but 3 ways with no equity. And now we hit a pair on the river, and so I'm definitely calling 20 cents. That seems like we won. King 6 suited is definitely good enough hand to defend blind versus blind. And ace king 4 ways. This is actually pretty close. I think I do see it here. I'm not thrilled to get it in, but I think there's some value in betting. Pretty big raise. He's gonna have like, yeah. Oh, I was set out. His raise sizing is fairly big and he shouldn't be bluffing too often when I see bet 4 ways. So I think folding is actually fine, but I don't like bet folding hand this strong. So maybe checking is actually better, but again it's NL10 and I think I'm just sitting this table out and focusing these 2 tables for the last or the second section of our coaching night. Ace 9, very good odds to call. I think this hand is actually pretty good candidate to take into our squeezing range. Yeah, I think our equity against his raising range is not great. And we do get 2 calls. So 3 ways. Do I want to see it? I think I can use a bit smaller sizing here. So yeah, I do see it. And this is pretty much one and done. If I get action, I'm just folding. I could actually bet even smaller because there's this shallow guy. Yeah, not great. But I think squeezing preflop is definitely an option. And C-betting, it's close. Three ways. I had a heart and one overcard, so yeah, maybe. And neither of those players three bet themselves, so if they do have pocket pairs, they are gonna have pretty big pocket pairs. They're pretty small, like not queens plus like ever, I would assume. So, and I'm assuming that pocket eights or hands like those are going to fold sometimes, at least. So, I think C betting's fine. Hands like queen, jack, or spades, or hands like that are not going to fold, but those are small enough part of their ranges for me to bet, I believe. Sorry, I needed to send a message quickly. Okay, so now I again completed my small blind with a suited hand against the limper. I think this is good enough hand to do it, and I'm just betting myself on a paired board with a flush draw, trying to get two folds and trying to win the pot. And if I do get call, we usually have some draws or a draw to just flush. When I get a call on this flop, I think I'm not going to get too many folds on the turn and against the bet. I just need to fold. Here I've blind versus blind. I floated against the c-bet with a gut shot and one overcard, and when he bet the turn with a fairly big sizing, I just folded. Against the mean 3-bet, I'm not folding any hand. And with a flush draw, I'm just going to check call this flop. Against the mean bet, I think I'm raising and trying to get a fold from a like ace queen. King of clubs. I think I can get some hands to fold on this turn. So yeah. It's pretty hard for us to get enough folds when we call the turn. Because he's gonna have some very strong hands in his range also. Like jacks. I raised his small blind limp, and with a second pair T strong, I'm just going to see it. And king is actually a pretty good card for us. I'm just betting small and trying to get maximum value from 10. And if he does have a king, then we are just going to lose it all. On 8 of hearts, I don't know if he's going to call us often enough with a 10. And he's gonna have some kings and some flushes sometimes, so This is pretty neaty, but I'm just checking. An ace jack, wow. Okay, that's definitely not calling. We almost never win this pot, but in this pot, in table number 1, but we get a ridiculously good odds that we just need to call. He's gonna have a king a lot, but okay, pocket jacks. Ace 4. This is a good candidate for 3-bet bluff. 200 big blinds deep. I'm not quite sure whether we get enough folds this deep, but I'll just try it. And a 5-bet, okay. Good game. We open raise 10-9 suited and I'm going to sieve it. Am I going to sieve it? I'm actually just going to check 3 ways. Again, a spot where I do not want to be raised. And I think check calling is just fine. Not too much value in betting myself actually. Yeah, he's gonna have some better 10x hands. Okay, pocket aces. I'm sorry I needed the text. I'm going to a concert this weekend and I bought bought a ticket to my friend and he has lost it. So he's asking whether I have it, and since I don't, he's kind of panicking and so on. On this turn card, I'm just going to fold. We are sometimes just drawing dead, and his flop sizing was too big for that. So his flop c-bet sizing was fairly big, so I don't think he's gonna bluff like that too often. Ace king is a easy 3-bet for value. Okay. I actually have a PS4 myself, but I don't have any, or I have an NHL, but I don't have any other games. Destiny demo I have, but yeah, maybe I should buy something like that myself. Here I'm debating whether I want to raise here. I think I do. It's fairly hard for us to be beat here. Yeah, but I don't want to raise too big because I want him to call with any king or maybe even a queen. Pocket trees, okay. That's quite something. He cold called the tree, but then bet called the river. But that type of players are the reason that I want to play in these games. Or if I played NL10, I would want to play in these games. I bet the turn with a double gotcha and was planning to bet some rivers as a bluff as well, but for pairing is not the type of hand. 50 big blinds effective when my villain is not repping much, and we would get ridiculously good odds. And it's just too likely that he's going to overplay ace king or any other king x hand that I don't think I could fold there. I'm not good enough. King 8, I think I'm just folding. So how has Carleon's grind been? Yeah, against the full stack I would fold. I think I just need to fold this. Against two players, my equity is not going to be good enough for me to call here. And king 4, I'm going to isolate the card of limper. We get bunch of folds pre-flop, and we get bunch of flops, folds post-flop. With this code of a 4, I'm just going to see bet for value. Good check as well. Okay, do you have a... What have you been doing if you haven't played that much? Or are you just stating that you are not playing that much comparing to the volume you put in last year? Like, do you have a real job now, or what do you do? Okay, so is that like 180 men or 90 men or 45 men? And also, are you only playing on PokerStars? With the open end, pretty easy c bet, and again on a pair in 6, not a great c bet spot. Again, when he flats from these positions, he's gonna have a ton of calling hands on this flop, and most of those hands are going to call my turn bet as well. Okay. 6-4 offsuit. Big blind seems to be recreational fairly often, so I'm just open raising this, and I'm 3-betting ace-9 suited with 150 big blinds effective stacks. Now we turn a nut straight, and I'm just betting 3 times if I'm given a possibility to do so. He's gonna have some 10x hands, he's gonna have some draws, he's not going to call a draw against any sizing unless he had queen of hearts, queen high, or yeah, queen of hearts. But if he's gonna call with 10 sometimes, even against the 1.2 SPR shove. So I'm just shoving, and there I called donk bet, smallish donk bet. But on the turn I just need to fold. We sometimes even have the best hand, and we have one over and a backdoor flush draw, so I think it needs to be called. So I'm assuming that you are not going to regain the Supernova Elite this year. How many VPPs do you have this year, if you're comfortable to answer? With aces, I'm just going to make a fairly big isolation raise. Yeah, I'm folding in heads up pot as well. I don't think I'm check calling. He doesn't always bet. And yeah, it's nice to run good. Maybe good. He could have like king queen sometimes, but against his range, the jack is very good card for me. And I'm 3-betting tens from these positions. So there's 30 minutes left to go. So if you have any questions or comments, please keep posting them. Gian is playing heads up rash and claiming that the field is soft. I believe you. Jack 9 is a complete. Yeah, I think PokerStars has like every single variation of and every single type of set and go of every variation they offer. So I think it's possible to play Ras heads up. Ras is actually pretty interesting game, but I prefer Deuce to 7. Folding and not going to see, but on table number 2, pretty wet board. I usually just check back a lot on those flops. Open raising with king jack and continuation betting for value. It's nice to be able to continuation bet for value every once in a while, because usually you are just bluffing. Especially with my ranges. Ace 7 offsuit, I think, again, I'm just going to raise and trying to isolate these two. Most likely recreational players. Against the mean bet, I have a bottom pair and backdoor flush draw and 1 overcard. I wouldn't see bet, so I'm just going to call. If I had a hand that I would want to see bet on this flop, I would raise the min bet. Now I'm just folding against the pot size bet. Yeah, deuce to 7 triple draw is fun game. But unfortunately I don't have too much time for that, since I need to give pretty much all my poker hours go into heads up no limit and heads up PLO, so I don't have too much time for triple draw. And I assume I'm not good enough to make a living playing deuce to 7. Playing any ace-x offsuit in the button spot. What do you mean? I did have an ace-x offsuit, didn't I? We turned trips here, so I see with it with an open ender, and then I turned some showdown value, so opted to check, and now I'm just betting myself, trying to get a call from like 7 or maybe even a 10. Yeah, what are you asking about that spot? Yeah, the variance is pretty sick, but the win rates, if you are good, are usually pretty high, so it's possible to play and win in PLO. Some players just lose a ton, so some players need to be winning. And heads up PLO is also a very fun game. So where in Creek does Giannis Creek live? Do you live close to Athens or? So yeah, it happens. Fortunately for Kyberi, he actually ran above EV in his coaching session, so it evens out uh, in the long run. I wasn't comfortable betting my ace jack at any point in this hand. Maybe turn I could have, and now I actually need to just fold the river. And not the greatest flop to see it on, so I'm just giving up with with 9-6. The ace is actually very good card for my range because I would check back of an ace high or turn, so I delay c-bet this time. Hmm. Yeah, when you don't hit a hand at any game, it's usually pretty hard to win. Yeah, I think I made a mistake with ace jack. Some jacks I just want to check there, but ace jack is good enough jack to bet in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. So 30 degrees Celsius is pretty sweet. I actually moved to, uh, yeah, to the capital of Finland, and it's been like 15 degrees Celsius this week, and it's not great. It's supposed to be summer, but it's not too warm. I'm actually heading to the north or the eastern Finland tomorrow, and it's supposed to be even cooler over there. So it's not great to have summer like this. With queens, I think I need to check call once, and king looks like a fairly good card for me. I think I'm usually going to win. Jack 10. Okay, I didn't know that you can actually see the last hand just by putting your mouse over the replay button. Okay, 10 degrees Celsius is not great either. Yeah, I have heard that Greek is fairly warm country. I have double gutter in table number one, and I just want to be calling a small bet and hoping this small blind guy calls as well. Now we even turn a flush trump, so I'm always calling the turn bet unless he shoves. Yeah, against the small bet we get great odds to call. So we have, if we assume that all our outs are live, we have 15 outs, so we only need to have 33% pot odds, and we have way better than those, so easy call. And now we are just hoping to get it in against his possibly strong holding. Maybe sometimes he's going to bluff. If he somehow has a bluff in this pot. With 10-9 I again isolated, and with a gut shot I'm just going to continuation bet. Yeah, I have actually planning to come on a vacation over to somewhere in Eastern, Southern Europe, but maybe to Cyprus. I don't know how to pronounce this country. But maybe over there. There are some live poker festivals, and I have heard that the games are fairly soft. I'm just calling the mean bets. I don't think I'm winning too often, but against mean bets I just can't fold. He sometimes has like 2 spades or something. Against the pot size bet on the river I'm just folding. Yeah. Backdoor flush draws. Definitely sweet hand to hit. I actually like those 25 degrees Celsius weathers a ton, and I actually dislike people who complain about how hot it is, since it's gonna be hot. Like, the weather like that usually lasts for like 2 weeks in a year in Finland, so please do not complain about weather or about it being hot. Yeah, Merit Casino, yes. Have you been there? I was I was planning to go there last year and the year before that when I actually lived in Malta, but then I actually didn't get to visit there. A 5-6 suited is not quite good enough hand to isolate, so I just limped it on the button, and seems like a fairly easy fold to me. Yeah, I witnessed that a lot myself too, but yeah. Not much you can do. I think it's still best to just call with weakish holdings and raise with the better ones, and eventually you're just gonna have a calling hand on the river. Okay. Don't play slots. Don't don't try to be professional with slots anyways. Recreational, I think it's fine. So 10-9 suited, easy cutoff open. And I think I'm just check folding here. Okay, so my friend found his ticket. So that's good news. I don't have to buy him a new one. So 15 minutes to go. And yeah, that's actually a shame. 15 minutes to go, so if you have any questions or comments, or if you wish to see any certain formats or stakes in the future, this would be pretty good time to leave a comment. Or if you have any jokes or poems or anything you want to amuse me with, feel free to do so. We face a 3, but Queen 10 suited seems like a just not quite good enough hand to call. With Queen Jack suited, I would have an against a bit smaller 3 bet I would have, but against pot size 3 bet in those positions, I think folding is just the way to go. So if Carleon has a choke for me, I have a choke for you, so we can exchange chokes here. But if you don't, I'm just going to save it. Yeah, heads up, no limit. We will be playing for sure in 2 weeks. Next week is going to be in Finnish. So as a Greek, you most likely won't understand it too much, but in 2 weeks they will be in English as well, and I'm hoping to see you there. You can see the exact time. I'm not quite sure whether it was on Tuesday or Thursday, so you can see the exact time at our forum. Open raise Jack 10 from a hijack. It's fairly loose. I usually open raise it from cutoff, but there's a most likely a recreational play on the big blind, so I usually widen up a bit. Queen 5, I just going to see it. Yeah, I'm streaming usually once per week, or once a week. Yeah. Every other week is in Finnish, and every other week is in English. With a gut shot on a 1 over, I'm just going to see it. Half a pot seems fine on a paired board. On a bad second pair, I'm just not going to see it. This is pretty sweet turn card, so I'm just going to bet it. Unfortunately, he's not going to have calling hand too often, but now luckily he did, and I'm just going to bet and hope that he has a 7 or something that he actually can call me with. Let's see. He actually called me with ace high, so that's weird. Jack 7 is a fold. King Jack I'm going to isolate. Against the mean raise, I would think that this guy would actually use bigger sizings with better hands. So I'm just going to raise and trying to take it down pre-flop. I assume that if he had like ace king or big pairs or something, that he would use bigger sizings against a assumed recreational player. And now that we get a call, I'm just c-betting half pot and trying to get him to fold like pocket fours. Yeah, that went fairly well. Ace 3 suited is good enough hand to call a 3-bet, I think. Especially if you know that you're flopping trips. Well, actually, if you knew that you're going to flop trips, then you could just 4-bet pre. But yeah, I wasn't I wasn't like completely sure whether I was going to hit them or not, so I just decided to call. Ace 10 against the mean race, I think I'm just going to call. I don't mind a multiway pot versus recreational players, and against the mean 3-bet and a call, I'm not going to 4-bet and I'm not going to fold, so I'm just calling. We hit top pair, decent kicker. If this guy folds, I'm just calling. And if he gets it in, I'm folding. I think he's gonna have a bunch of worse aces and maybe even queens or pocket kings or something. Sometimes he's gonna have like ace jack or ace queen or ace king, but those are pretty rare, so I'm just calling. Yeah, queen 3. So pretty wild 3-bet pre-flop, but just stating that you can't fold the strongest aces at least. Maybe with like ace 5 you could consider folding, because sometimes they show up with like ace jack. He's gonna have a ton of draws also, like 2 spade hands and like maybe king jack or something. King 7 I'm starting with a check and I'm check calling. I'm check calling again unless he bets big. Yeah, I think I'm winning fairly often in a showdown. 9s I'm just 3-betting blind versus blind. I think his open sizing is way too big, so I'm a bit worried about that, but so he should have a stronger range when he bets that big, but often they just don't. And when I'm 3-betting, I'm 3-betting to get it in. Nine 7 suited is a check, and I'm betting the second pair by myself. And a top pair blind versus blind easy, c-bet for value. I face fairly big raise that I don't like, but I'm not folding top pair. I'm winning all the draws, and well, he shouldn't be bluffing too often with this sizing, but yeah. And now I'm just check folding this turn. Okay, seems like he doesn't have a spade, diamond flush, but if he has like two pair or set or strong jack, I don't think he's going to fold those, so I'm just checking again. Okay, so we won some type of hand. Looks like he made a, yeah, sixes is definitely ridiculous hand to raise. I'm folding every worse hand. I'm continuing with every better one. And 8-7, I'm happy to just take it to showdown. So I think I'm just playing for a few minutes and then sitting out, wrapping things up. It's nice that there has been Giannis and Kaleon that have been active. Maybe you need to activate it by somehow. I don't know. I'll actually ask Deya. The administrator of Pokerimania. Or Poker, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting out next big blinds and we're just going to wrap it up. Seems like we showed some profit, which is always nice. Yeah, some interesting spots today, but not too much happening. Pretty much the ABC poker that I was planning to play. Pocket aces, I'm just going to 3-bet. From these positions I usually use a bit bigger sizing. So yeah, this was it. Thank you for railing, thank you for comments. Next week we will be playing heads up in Finnish, and the week after that we will be playing the same game in English. So I'll see you guys then, and yeah, that's pretty much it. See you next time. Thank you. Bye.